Parents of Reddit, what is the most absurd thing you have found on your kid's social media? That my son is an urban explorer. He's 14 and I saw some video of him and his friends sneaking into an old Air Force base and climbing to the top of an air hangar. Can I do the inverse? My dad recently opened an Instagram account. And within 10 minutes of having it, managed to accidentally upload a screenshot of our Wi-Fi password to it. Like, I have no idea how he managed that. Even put a filter on it. For some reason, my middle-aged uncle accidentally posted a picture of his erect Pen 15 to Facebook once. It took him about an hour to work out how to delete it. In the meantime, there were a lot of apology statuses. Frequently asked questions edit. A lot of people saw it. My uncle is a Londoner and Londoners are very good at taking the piss. The image is burned into my brain. It was thick but kind of stubby. It did not look like a vulva. Not super similar but related. My mom gave me and my sister diaries when we were about 14-15 and I instantly knew it was a trap and they would read it, so I drew a monster truck and some stick figures doing kung fu, then left it. My sister instantly decided to write about the dude she ducked under the pier and how she had been smoking weed every day and how much she hated my parents. I have never seen someone dig themselves a grave so deep so fast. They read them the minute we left for school in the morning. Hopped on my nephew's tablet and proceeded to pull up the internet browser. Immediately I was staring at a screenshot of an overweight homeless looking Santa knocking the cornhole out of a much younger MRS. Claus. I immediately asked my nephew what kind of research he was doing with his Santa video and his face turned fire engine red and he scurried back to his room. When my twins were young, elementary school, they were looking up The Simpsons and accidentally came across cartoon Simpsons pornography. The computer was in the living room, so I heard them giggling and turned to see two guilty little faces. So hard not to laugh and so disturbing. What a conversation. The sight of Milhouse and Lisa is forever burned into my retinas. Okay, it should be my parents telling this story, but here goes. So when I was a youngin and just exploring the internet, I would usually just go on Disney Channel to play games, but I wanted to find more sites with fun girly stuff on them. So of course I just went to girls.com. Well, that took me right to a porn site and my little self was like whoops and closed it right away. Well, apparently my dad had been looking at the browser history and noticed. So my dad is interrogating my two older brothers, asking who was looking at porn, and they of course said it wasn't them. My dad was persistent with trying to get them to confess until I come down the stairs and confessed that it was me. My brothers had the biggest sigh of relief. Not a parent. But when I was a kid I found an adult flash game website. I would go on it whenever I had a chance. Eventually my mom found out and she told my dad to talk to me about it. My dad and I got into the car and he started this serious talk about how the internet is a very powerful tool. I felt really guilty. Then he told me how to erase the browsing history. Aunt of Reddit. I was trying to figure out my niece's age, but it was too late to call my mom and ask. I remembered she has an Instagram account, and I thought that might help me figure out how old she is. I looked her up. She has the standard tween Insta bio about what activities she likes and a list of like 15 of her BFFs. Immediately followed by pondering, and I quote, "Mostly why do people hate me?" She's 12. She is definitely 12. Daughter was 6 at the time. She was supposed to be asleep and I go to charge up her Kindle and can't find it. Go to her room and quietly sneak in. I find her watching a video under a blanket. It's popular mechanics and how to build your own windmill. She had a mock model in the corner of the room she was working on. Definitely wasn't expecting that. When he was little, my brother once wanted to help us find a cool new purse to order for my mom's birthday. He image searched fun bags, and my parents had to answer a lot of questions. When I was 8 or 9, I typed butt.com into the search bar. Because I was with a friend and trying to be funny, not thinking there could actually be a real website. Yeah, we were shocked to see that it was a real website. With lots of naked ladies. We both ran screaming out the room and I wouldn't go near the computer for days. I have two quick stories. When I was a little girl, I wanted to play some Barbie games or look at girl stuff, so I went to girls.com. Went downstairs to my mom crying in order to rat myself out. My little sister had something similar happen. She wanted to look at new bikes in order to decide what to ask Santa for. She went to bigdigs.com hoping to see Big Dig sporting goods. Instead she saw a lot of schlong. Guess it runs in the family. I found out my daughter played a massive role in a series of events to plague our town. She went to a party at the bad boy's house with her friend who had a crush on said bad boy. My daughter was such a good girl and honestly kind of nerdy. But she went anyways to be a wing woman for her friend. My daughter ended up cutting her hand while trying to shotgun a beer. Her friend then proceeded to ditch her to lose her virginity to the bad boy. Meanwhile my daughter was never seen again as she was dragged into the pool in the Upside Down by the Demogorgon. Oh dear God, reading this makes me realize how much my parents probably saw in my search history before I knew about incognito mode. Not a parent, but this happened with a person I know's kid. He was printing out pornographic images and putting them in the elementary library books. He also photoshopped the librarian's head onto a naked woman and passed it around school, and he would sexually harass her all the time, telling her to suck his big dick. He also started downloading big dick pics to send to girls. He was 10 years old. He's in juvie now. Pictures of my daughter, 11, posing quite harmlessly that went onto bum shots, wearing shorts. Someone pretending to be a 14-year-old girl asked her to do these shots for a modeling competition and sent similar shots so she knew how to pose. She eventually stopped the conversation. The pics came through to my iPad, linked devices. Police got involved and also CRP. They originated from an account in South Africa, so Interpol took over the case and we will probably never get an update. Instagram never even bothered to respond to my report. Not exactly social media. Plus my kids are pretty young. But we let them watch YouTube Kids and I saw them watching videos of Marvel Disney DC characters that were dressed a family and the Spider-Man mom was pregnant. Just to let you know, there's a lot of seriously ducked up videos featuring child-friendly characters on YouTube. Many of them are able to bypass filters by using certain keywords and can even end up on the YouTube Kids app. What you described sounds like it could be what I'm thinking of. Edit, RL to be. This was probably the early 2000s. Me and my buddy were off school for the summer and he would hang out at my house. Occasionally we'd look at porn on the family computer. One day my dad comes home from work and comes downstairs and says, "Hey, you guys missed the bus." I'm like, "Ooh, it's summer. There's no school." My dad responds, "The bang bus. Mother of God. We forgot to close the ducking browser." I have a 6-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl who are pretty obsessed with YouTube gamers. They narrate their play like they are performing for subscribers, and my son actually figured out how to post videos to YouTube. I did not find this out until they had posted a few already. They had ridiculous titles where one of them had obviously just been using the next suggested word, so it came out like "The Ghost of the Wealthy." But if they didn't, then deserve. And it would be a video of my foot while I was asleep on the couch, and you'd hear one of them say, "Foot," and then giggle madly, and then the video cuts out. Edit, unfortunately. These videos have long been deleted. I'm not sure if there's some way to recover them. But I'll look into it if people are that interested. Edit 2. No luck on the videos. They're gone for good. Sorry. All. Here are the kids in Link and Linkle cosplay as a consolation prize. Imgur.com. When I was 16 I got caught sneaking out of the house. They never did find out I snuck out to have sex. However, I was grounded a while year. Mostly because they found all the naked pictures I had taken of myself and sent to my LDR boyfriend who lived in another state. They demanded the password for my laptop and searched the whole thing. My MySpace. My Zanga, oh no, my age is showing. And saw all the embarrassing things I had wrote on them. All the internet history porn searches. the look on my dad's face when he realized the tiny thumbnails of a naked girl were his daughter. Many of them in very sexual poses. I have never been more embarrassed in my life. To this day I do not know why my mom had to call my father and stepmother over to go through my laptop. Divorced. Guess she didn't think it'd be that bad. It was. Edit. Ducking iPhone eyes. Edit 2. Holy shit. This has been my biggest ever comment. I've been sick all day. This has made me smile to know I'm not the only person who has been through this. Thanks everyone. An old friend of mine has a younger brother with some disabilities. Mostly mental. When he lived at home with him. Around the age of 16. My friend caught him hooping his peen, don't ask, to bondage rapper sim porn. He later made an account on a sort of fetish or swinger website. With a profile saying he was looking for someone to come to the family house and punish him. He used part of his tugboat money to pay for a taxi ride for a woman old enough to be his mother to come to their house for this, and she actually showed up. But she arrived as their parents came home and they had to meet. He quickly tried to make up a story about house cleaning. But she was firm and direct with the explanation. From then on, he had absolutely no internet access. With his brother going so far as to remove connection ports components from his computer to stop hot wiring of any kind. These days, he lives in an adult care home where he still has absolutely no internet access. There was an incident in 2014 where he stole someone's smartphone and locked himself in a closet. Speeding through porn and trying to access his fetish site account until the battery died and he was lured back out with food. Not my kid, but on Halloween I saw a post on my 17-year-old cousin's Snapchat that was a selfie captioned. Verbatim. Any girls trying to come over here and suck on this spooky big dig and get festive with some pumpkin spice lattes? I immediately facepalmed, then laughed my ass off for a solid 15 minutes. Back before there was Google, there was a search engine called Hotbit. Lots of porn sites liked to use meta tags that children would search for whatever reason. We had a computer room where all computers were in the same room so that we could monitor our children when they were on their computers. One time out of the blue I hear my approximately 10-year-old son say, "How do I get this off my computer?" There is a naked lady spread eagle on his computer screen because he was searching for Star Wars. But my husband did not miss a beat. He turned to my son and said, "One day son, you'll be asking me how you get that onto your computer." Edit grammar. One time when my brother was like 7 or 8, we walked in on him searching poop on Google Images. He was definitely too young for anything sexual. And I think he was just bored and thought it would be funny. Was pretty weird. Not technically a parent but an older sister. So my little brother when he was around 7ish had a search history of naked women and such. And when my mother found out and confronted him, he cried and was saying he just wanted to be like Jack from the Titanic by drawing naked women, and he had a few pages of his attempted drawings. That my 12-year-old son searched for pro study tips. No joke. My son. Trying to study harder. Never a million years and lives would I have expected this. Late to the party and maybe not exactly what OP asked for, but here goes. Miso was looking something up on YouTube at her sister's place and the search bar autofill defaulted to sexy girls with nipples you can see through the tops. Miso's niece is 6. Needless to say, her parents were mortified and doubled down on the parental controls. A friend from work's son goes to a fairly strict Catholic school. One day I was walking out to my car. And she was outside yelling on the phone and generally freaking out. I waited around. She usually has a lot of funny drama going on. She hangs up the phone. Looks at me and starts hyperventilating and then laughs hysterically. I was like, "Girl, what is going on?" She said her son's principal called she and her husband need to come to the school immediately. That her son will fill her in on the rest. She continues to tell me her son said he got caught looking at naked ladies on the internet. And the principal printed out his search history. He searched booby prawn and lady parts during class. She was yelling at her husband on the phone. Telling him about the situation. And all he had to say was, "We should have taught him how to delete the history." Was at my friend's place around the age of 10-12 when my parent called me home randomly. I run in the front door and both my parents are sitting in the living room and immediately ask me to spell the word 612 and then they tell me to send my brother over. Brother runs over. He'd be around 9-10. And doesn't come back. Turns out he searched for girls having 6 but spelt it 6. Had a co-worker bring in her kid during the summer so that she could run him to the local middle school for football practice when she took her break at 9. Since I was in training at the time, I was sitting with her at her desk and mine was not in use. To keep him occupied, I'd log into my computer and then she'd pull up YouTube so he could watch the Watch Me Whip song. Because apparently kids will watch that shit for hours. Well, one day she goes over to check in on him and says in a confused voice, "Who the heck is that guy?" So it turned out that it was still logged into my YouTube profile, where I had taken to watching documentaries about serial killers. And the kid had clicked on one of the recommended videos. Oopsies. Well, I have childlike parents. Weirdest thing so far was having to sit down and have a talk with my mother about how some things on Facebook are not real. My extended family lives in Houston and during Hurricane Harvey my mother was driving my elderly relatives to hysteria by emailing them horribly photoshopped pictures of Houston landmarks submerged under 50 feet of water followed by "It's a biblical flood. The world is ending. The news is lying to you. You're going to die if you don't get in your car and try to drive out of town right now." I talked to my stepdad and made him give me her password so I can shut down her account during the next natural disaster. I recently discovered my 10-year-old son has been looking up 6, but his computer has parental controls. So he was trying to look up 6 on his Roblox game. My daughters are grown up now. But when one of them was around 14 or 15 I opened up her MySpace page. She was telling all these kids that her mother, that would be me, was a raging alcoholic. She was telling them how I was neglectful and I did tea like her. At the time I was pregnant with twins. Working full time and my husband was gone with the Marines a lot. I am not a drinker at all. Obviously we had a long talk. She was feeling left out with all the excitement over the babies. Still though, it was pretty hurtful. It took me a long time to get over that. Back in middle school my friend was staying the night and was using my laptop to look at his Facebook and talk to his girlfriend. The next day his mom picked him up. And later that evening I got my laptop so I could add songs to my iPod. When I opened it, I was greeted by a chat window in full screen. And apparently they just got done video chatting. And the last words were, "Him, I'm almost there my little elf. Here I go." Oh, wow Santa. That was huge. Almost like it was a volcano. I quickly closed that window, signed out of his stuff, and slid my laptop under my bed. I didn't want any part of what bodily fluids could have been on there. Edit, should add in that both my friend and I were in middle school and were around age 13 or 14. When Twitter became popular my son was about 5-6 years old. He came up with a way to tweet vocally. Throughout the day he would say things like "going to play with my trains." Tweet. Tweet and bacon for breakfast. Tweet. Tweet. I was sad when he stopped doing it. When I was 11 my mom asked me one day about some Google searches on the family computer, including sexy Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. I blamed it on the babysitter and somehow convinced my brother to back me up. A couple years later I was caught searching "can I see a picture of a girl in a bikini," but I wasn't able to blame it on anyone this time around. I've since discovered the incognito tab. Not my kid, but my nephew. He was diligent upon receiving his phone to get Facebook installed along with an account. Last year Halloween, I walked by him on his phone and glanced at a video of an explosion. Turns out, he liked a page of people blowing sheet up. Not just any sheet, but the actual sheet that comes out of our asses. When confronted, he said he was shown from a friend who uploads videos on the page. My little brother, 16, just got his first somewhat serious girlfriend. He's known her for about 3 months. They've been officially a thing for about 3 or 4 weeks. on one of my elder brotherly snoops through his Facebook Messenger account. I found that at some point within the 3 weeks they've been going out, they had a ducking professional couples photo shoot done. It honestly looked like the sort of photos that would announce an engagement. I've never experienced a feeling like what I did when I saw those pictures. We got my young daughter a tablet last Christmas. A couple of days later I went to look something up, and the search bar history had one entry: "Is Santa Claus real?" A picture with a tweeter that said "crush a bit, little bit, roll it up, take a hit" with the caption "had a dope weekend. He's 9. Instagram privileges revoked fast after that. My 10-year-old telling his friends he was grounded for the weekend because his mother, didn't believe him when he told me he opened up the freezer and the cat jumped and ate the donuts. His friends all taking his side and saying I was giving him trouble. Yo.